Hello and welcome to Mini PC episode 101. They said it couldn't be done. I said that last week. Anyhow, we are sponsored today by Patreon supporter Jordan Brown, who joined November 2017. Jordan, thank you for your support. We appreciate it greatly.
Absolutely. And thanks to people like Jordan, we don't have to have interrupt the show every 15 minutes with ads. Long story short, patreon.com/the mini PC show. Check the notes if you want a direct link to it. If you want to support us, and I am a firm believer in support those who support you. So if you need any help, any assistance, any guidance, or you just want to communicate with somebody, do not hesitate to shoot us an email. Our email is minipc@podnutz.com. Again, link will be in the notes. How you doing, Rich?
Really good. It's kind of fun. It slows down at work this time of year. People are kind of nice and chatty, and we're having a good time as opposed to all that hard effort we got to put in on a regular basis.
Yes, it is a nice slow time. And I'm going to tangentially say, and also do not forget, if you want to witness this show live, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can join us on the Discord server. You can join us on the Mattermost server. You can follow us on twitter.com, or you can just literally go to YouTube and follow us there. Click the subscribe and thumbs up button, which makes me sick to my stomach just saying out loud. But I will say, Rich, thank you for the like because I know you did it. So if you want to participate live, there are ways to do it. All you got to do is go to the notes, and there are links to do it there. I will say this, Rich. I absolutely love this time of year at work because, like you said, everybody is away, and I can get so much work done. I personally deprecated over 48 Windows 2008 servers in the last couple weeks, and it's a really good feeling.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're trying to expunge ourselves from all of those Windows machines. That's terror on everybody, a blight on society.
Yeah, and like me being a mini PC weenie, if you will, I had a guy today come into an office I was sitting in helping a guy with a task, and he said, I want to put this TV out in the hallway, and I want it to just show bids coming into our pro procurement department, and I'm really tempted to get one of those little computers over there and just put Linux on it, and I had to stop myself from being that Mr. Know-it-all guy and say something, but I'm just like sitting back and just waiting, and I'm hoping somebody will say to him, if you want to do this right, maybe you should talk to, that nerd over there.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. I think sometimes maybe I should just STF you more than, tell everybody everything I know.
Well, I mean, I'll just say it like this, Rich. Not speaking to basically anyone unless I absolutely had to for 30 years of my life. I understand the value of shutting up and listening. With that stated, it is very good to once in a while just make very, very short observations and say something and then just shut up again. But once I open my mouth, it's really hard to not keep talking. So hopefully in the next week or two, I'll hear from this guy and we can get this system set up right.
Cool.
We do have at least one email. I'll say that. I'll say this one email that I think is going to spur a lot of conversation. Do you want to read it?
For sure. Yeah, I would never be a drummer because I'm not multi-rhythmic or whatever. So actually, Gregory Smith on the 12th of this month, that's December, sent us an email. Says, "Hey guys, I'm looking for some recommendations on single board computers. I have a Plex server and have most of my media on a NAS. The Plex server is starting to get old and the NAS is starting to fill up. I have a bunch of Raspberry Pi computers around the house doing various stuff. I don't create solutions from scratch, so I lean on the Raspberry Pi. Anything that has been done on single board computer has been done on a Raspberry Pi, and there's a page on how to do it. I question if the Raspberry Pi is up to working as a Plex server. Would something else be better? I have at most 4 streams going at any time. How about a NAS solution? I know there were network limits on the Raspberry Pi in the past, but my understanding is that the Raspberry Pi 4 has a separate NIC and gets much better speeds on the network. which NAS would you go with for the NAS? Open Media Vault, free NAS, something else? Greg. And I did start writing him back, and rereading this, I have like one or two questions. Like, what is his current Plex server, and how much storage space does he have on his NAS?
I believe his current solution is a dedicated box, almost like a QNAP type
Oh, okay.
box, is what I'll say. No, it was a Buffalo NAS. Sorry, where he
Mm-hmm.
needed special software that only runs on Windows or Mac in order to rebuild if a drive goes bad.
Yeah. So I am very against proprietary stuff, and being. I don't want to say I was bit or hurt or whatever by Crash Plan, but I was very much in love with Crash Plan for a very long time. And that's why and I haven't fully outfitted it yet. Boy, what is the solution I was thinking of? Because it's multi-platforming and journaling. Damn, I can't think of the name.
I don't know. But I will say Crash Plan was the thing I couldn't think of the other day. Yes, Crash Plan offered a fantastic solution in order for you to have redundant systems spread across great distances, but they completely went the corporate route and messed everything up. I am uncommonly I let me rephrase that. I believe I'm
Oh,
uncommonly biasedly gray bearded in the sense of I don't trust any solution offered by any vendor that offers you a box that you just throw drives in because whether it's Synology or anybody else, because they're unbelievably exploitable, and I just don't trust anybody offering a solution. Even if you pay them a monthly service, they seem to not be able to spell the word security.
yeah, yeah, and so I guess there's two ways of thinking of things. One is if you roll your own, you are the warranty, basically. And that means there's upgrades and whatever, and some things may not work 100%. And I know I actually have two current Plex servers, and I have one running right now here in Orlando, and it's an o-droid HC1. And in Jupiter, my main residence, the Hughes Compound Southern Command, I have an o-droid XU4, and I have two USB 3 drives plugged into it. And I'm not sure if, yeah, I think I only have two, but the two I have plugged in right now have a port, and you can daisy chain them. So that's kind of cool. That might hurt your throughput, because it's going to be going down one wire. I don't know how bad it's going to hurt it. And the backup software I was thinking of is Duplicati, which is cross-platform and versioning, which I haven't actually set up yet. That should be on my goal list for 2020. So
Gotcha.
okay, let's circle back to I sent Gregory an email, and this is one of these things I said I could actually spend a whole show talking about, and or a good chunk of a show. And I've actually been testing what I'm about to tell you, and I wrote to him. I said, in the theoretical untested cray cray is I have this actually set up at home, and I've done some smoke testing on it. I have a Pine 64 Pro, or is it the Rock Pro? Rock Pro, that's it. With a PCIe card, a USB PCIe card, and a whole bunch of USB 3 drives plugged into it. And I'm running Open Media Vault with LVM, which is Logical Volume Manager, which basically gives you virtual drives, and you can split them up any way you want. Basically, it's abstracting the physical layer, so you could say I want a drive, and then the software figures out where it's going to live. So you don't tell it I'm going to take 10 gigs from this drive, or 5 gigs from each drive, LVM figures that out. You got nothing to do with it. And if you start running out of space, this is the cooler thing. You just plug another drive in, and then you can add space because you're crossing the boundaries of the physical drive size. Like if you have uh, 10 1 terabyte drives, you could use almost the full 10 terabytes as one drive with LVM. So that's kind of the cool thing. And I did experiment with that. So here's what I said is you could get a Pine Rock Pro 64. You can drop a daughter board in there. And now that daughter board could be SATA or it could be USB 3. And then plug a whole bunch of, commodity drives like, the Costco drives and stuff like that, like I've been buying. And you do the LVM. Now here's where I would do it. Actually, you would only need one interface on the Rock Pro 64 because all it's going to be doing is storage traffic. And then your Plex server, which I would recommend going with. All right. So I do have experience with Open Media Vault. I don't know if I said that. So Open Media Vault on the Rock Pro 64, I have experience with. I did do a quick Google search, and I did not see FreeNAS is available on the ARM platform, so it may not be available. But with Open Media Vault, LVM is a plugin you can get. It's pretty much a couple of clicks and it's in. For the Plex server, I would run DietPi because DietPi strips out all of the crap in the OS you don't need. And then you can load radar, sonar, transmission, and whatever you need to run on that machine. The hardware, we can have a lot of conversations about. My setup that I'm, smoke testing, that I started recording video on and doing tests and forgot about, is running the o-droid N2, which I really like that platform. One, because you got 4 USB 3.0, you got gig Ethernet. So on that device, let's just say theoretically you're using an o-droid N2, I would put a USB gigabit Ethernet adapter into that, USB 3.0 gigabit Ethernet. So I would have a storage network that only talks to the OVM with the LVM drives, and that's the only traffic that would go on that network. And then the other Ethernet port would be what would go to the LAN, in the house. So the wireless network, whatever it may be, where you would stream out. That's, kind of the theoretical, high end of what I would do. Now, I'll try and do this. I'll try and I got 2 Raspberry Pi 4s with 4 gigs of RAM. I'll see about setting them up with, Plex and see how they run and, give you a report back on that and try it out. So this way you don't have to spend your money if you don't have to. I don't know. What else? What are your thoughts, Dor?
Well, I'll say first, I'll say this. Anytime anyone asks me a question and I'm actually knowledgeable about the subject, I can't give an answer back. I always got to ask anywhere from 5 to 500 questions back at them. And like the question he asked is, can it be a Plex server? Well, let's just take that one thing and let's say we're going to quote Doctor Who meme. And that is for a lot. Well, it depends on the context. Dollars? No. Days a meme lives on Reddit? Yes. So when you say, can it be a Plex server? Of course it can, but it depends on the context. Are you the only person who's going to be watching this stream? Is it only going to be 2 people? Could it be 4 people? Could it be 6 people? Could it be 10 people? Could it be 20 people? Kind of thing. If it's only 2 people doing 1080p streams, I firmly believe a Raspberry Pi 4 can be a Plex server just fine and be a NAS just fine. If you expect to have like 4 people doing 4K video on a Plex server and it being a NAS, I don't think there's any way any Raspberry Pi will be able to meet your needs, I think.
So do you, and thanks for mentioning, so there's 2 things that you got to worry about. So 4 streams, yes. That's a dumb answer is yes. The more intelligent answer is 4 streams at what quality? 4K, 2K, 1K, and then what encoding? Because one of the things Plex will do is you can have it encode for the target device. So you could right mouse click on the files and say, hey, pre-encode it for these things. So when it's idle and not streaming, it will basically build a file that's designed to run on fill in the blank, whether it's your tablet or your 70-inch TV, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I will say about Plex. Plex in 2019, late 2019, is almost the Microsoft Word of media tools, where I don't think a huge percentage of the people use any percentage of the functionality in it because it is that powerful and that diverse. But I will say this, December 2019, I firmly believe, I hate saying like this, the days that Plex will be around, you can probably count down now. When you see a company starting to advertise on what I consider to be bougie networks, rest assured it's going to start to draw the attention of the wrong people. And then the wrong people are going to start to insist, Plex, you are breaking copyright laws. I want to know everybody on your network who are sharing X, Y, and Z. And when that happens, Plex will then be dead to me. Until then, I'm going to abuse it. Don't get me wrong. But for right now, I say don't rely on Plex being around to normal people by the end of 2020.
So, and I guess 2 questions. One, do you think he was asking about running everything on a Raspberry Pi, both NAS and Plex? Was that,
Yep.
that how the? Okay, all right.
I believe so is what I'll say. But he also
Hmm.
did say he had multiple devices.
Okay,
So I
all
could
right.
see running, here's the logic, running the Plex server on a device, running the NAS on another device, and the library to the Plex server maybe on that second device.
Hmm.
Maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. I've actually tested that where the Plex server has no storage, or basically boot, and that's it. Um, my o-droid XU4, I have 2 hard drives plugged into it. It is also running, sonar radar, transmission, Plex. It's a time capsule and an SSH server. So, I mean SSH, I mean NFS server. So, yeah, I'm doing all of those things. How good is it? Pretty damn good. What's better than an o-droid XU4? I'd have to look it up. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Yeah.
The the question is o-droid XU4, I believe, is 2 gigs of RAM, and if a mini PC, and I use that term in the generalist of sense, is available in 4 gigs of RAM or whatever the highest amount du jour is, I will buy the highest amount because this way I'm kind of future proofing a bit. Um, and one of the things I want to do is to be able to run like Docker containers on it. I'd love to be able to run virtual machines, but a Docker container is a little bit more efficient. So that's one of the things I'm thinking about. When I buy, whether it was what is it, the Rock 64, there was a 4 gig version of that. I got 2 of those. So right now I'm at the point where I have more single board computers than I'm actually running stuff on, which I know a few years back it was the opposite. I was like, oh, I wish I had another one. Now I'm like, I wish I had the time to do all the stuff I planned on.
Yeah, I will say the XU4 does have 2 gigs of RAM. You were right. The XU4 to me is the most underappreciated single board computer, period, that's ever existed. I truly believe that. Here's the gimmick: the Raspberry Pi, popularity, documentation. o-droid, unbelievable power and specs, but typically no wireless connectivity built into any board. That's
And
the
you know
gimmick
what?
with.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, I am too. And then you have the Pine boards, which try to fit the other niche, where they try to be like somewhere between o-droid and Pine, which I know is not fair to them to say. They just try to fit a different need set, is what I'll say. The o-droid XU4 to me, and here's the gimmick. Here's the other reason why I think it is among the best bang for the buck computers. The processor, the bus, the GPU are some of the most well coded and understood processors in the single board computing world. I.e., you get some of the most stability and some of the most performance versus anything else that exists. As far as it goes to NAS's, here's what I will say. Redundancy is the biggest thing. And when I say redundancy, what I really mean is it's perfectly fine for you to have a Buffalo NAS or a Synology NAS or anything else. Do you really want to be the administrator and back that thing up every single week to some kind of hard storage media, whether it be DVDs, CDs, or other kind of external hard drives? And I beg anybody out there to say the answer to that is no. I don't want to do that. That's a pain. What I really beg people to do is one of two things. One, simply mirror your own homegrown custom NAS solution to Amazon EC2 or to Dropbox or to Google Cloud or to Amazon or Microsoft OneDrive or anybody else, because remote storage media is now so cheap, it's insane. I truly believe, and I'll say this, I don't say this often, I truly believe in my heart of hearts, our kids and our kids' will never understand the term running out of disk space. Storage is becoming so unbelievably cheap. But here's the other thing. We as users, as administrators, as power users, as people who understand how computers work, we don't have to rely on big box solutions like Dropbox or OneDrive or Spider Oak or anybody else. Technically, we can do what's called federate. We can federate our cloud storage amongst ourselves, almost like the solution that you used to trust did, Rich.
Yep, Crash Plan.
Yes. Thank you. Crash Plan used to offer the ability for me and Rich to have an account, and for me to say through my software, I trust Rich, and Rich to say, I trust Door. And then I would allocate a certain amount of my drive to him. He would give some of his drive to me. I would never be able to see his data. It would be perfectly encrypted and vice versa. And we could have remote off-site storage. So with that stated, I will say this. It's really difficult for me to beat the power and simplicity of Nextcloud in order to say, install it on a Raspberry Pi, install it on a Rock 64, install it on a Rock Pro 64, install it on o-droid NH2, install it on o-droid N2, install it on o-droid XU4 or whatever. Make it public facing, which of course involves some nerdy talk called port forwarding, which trust me, you can do. And if you can't do, contact me, minipcshow at pod.com, and I will help you. And then find somebody you can federate your cloud with. So then hypothetically, Maryland could be drowned by an earthquake and severe weather and hurricanes and tornadoes and whatever. But Rich could be perfectly fine in Jupiter, Florida, and he could be my off-site disk space kind of thing. If we can federate with other people, it makes redundancy a real tangible thing, and it's not rocket science to do. I will say that. The barriers have been dropping ridiculously on these kinds of complex issues. I truly believe 2020 will be the year solutions like Nextcloud make it insanely easy for anybody to ask any other family member to be their remote off-site storage backup, but they'll call it something else like, be my buddy.
So I just did a little bit of math, which is adding things to the cart and comparing. There's 4 boards that I own right now, not all 4 gig, but so the Rock Pro 64 with 4 gigs of RAM without a power supply. I haven't included the power supply, so your price out the door is going to be a little bit more because you're going to have a boot device and power. The Rock Pro 64 is $79.95 on Ameridroid. The o-droid N2 is $71.95. The Rock 64 is $49.95. And at Micro Center, if you can walk into one, a 4 gig Pi 4 is $49.99. So, of the four devices, I hate to say it, I have no love anymore for the Rock 64. Even though it's 4 gigs, it might be a good host for Docker containers, but at the same price, all right, so what makes the Rock 64 better than the Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 gigs is you can have eMMC on the Rock 64. But after that, the Raspberry Pi has 2 HDMI ports.
I know, but it has the stupid HDMI ports.
Yeah. So pretty much you're paying the same price for either a Pi 4 with 4 gigs or a Rock 64 with 4 gigs. Now, the next two higher end devices, the Rock Pro 64 with 4 gigs versus the o-droid N2 with 4 gigs. Both of them are the way I would see it slicing up. So the Rock Pro is, $8 more. So we're not talking a big dollar amount. I'm not sure what kind of case they have for it. I think there's packages on Ameridroid where you can get the case and the power supply for the o-droid N2 for like a real bargain price. And I'll look for that in a moment. But here's where I would split it up. If you want a PCIe card on something, the Rock Pro 64 is your man. If you don't care about a PCIe card, I would go with the o-droid N2 then. They're both the Rock 3399 chip, and they both have 4 gigs. Let's see. I think the Rock Pro 64 has USB-C on it, and I don't know if that's real important to you, but on the o-droid N2 you got 4 USB 3.0 ports, which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's 4 ports, but I believe it's only 2 buses, so you'll only get full speed if you use 2 of the USB ports. With 3, you'll still do good speed. Here's my question though. When it comes to Plex servers, streaming media, and when it comes to NAS servers, delivering just, files in bulk or whatever, is RAM okay, we have a couple things here we're going to nerd out. We have RAM, we have processor, we have the NIC, and then we have the bus. And the bus is basically just the communication between all of it. Something's going to be the bottleneck. Which one do you think is the most important for Plex and for NAS, and are they different?
All right, so all right, the ARM architecture, pretty much everybody's been designing or writing their software, or the software that gets ported is really designed to be working with the 1 gig, 2 gigs of RAM. USB 3.0 and SATA. Now, what version of SATA? I don't know, SATA 2 or SATA 3. I'd have to look at the speeds. But you're pretty much sucking in the data as quick. There's really not a bottleneck there if you're USB 3 or SATA. I really think the gigabit Ethernet is the biggest deal.
I agree.
That's the big deal in my mind.
I agree. And most boards of today will give you full gigabit NIC. The Raspberry Pi 4, every o-droid, every Pine board, every Rock board will give you a true gig NIC speed. Now, with that said, you'll never get gig NIC speeds. That's always a theoretical. You'll always get at least like 700 to 800 megabytes a second. So with that stated, anything else, as long as it's as fast as that, you'll be completely fine. So when it comes to like a Plex server, there is processing that comes into play, but I will say, I don't think they've offloaded it to the GPU as of just yet. So it's the basic cores that are on the system that I will probably say are the most important if you're going to stream more than 4 1080p streams or more than 2 4K streams. I don't know of an ARM processor unless you start to get into like the Jetson Nano type arena that can really meet your needs. So if you're streaming that kind of content, high content, and you want a NAS, I would heavily encourage 2 separate devices.
Okay, and all good points there. So if you're on a Droid, I just threw this in the cart. You can get the o-droid N2 Core Elec edition, and that's the case and the power cord, and I think you get a boot micro SD for $76.95. So that's pretty much $5 more. Yeah, $5 more than the $71.95. You're getting a micro SD, which, you know, what's it booting? Core Elec Next Generation Media Center, right? Okay. The case, which I think they charge only like $2 or so. It's not a real crazy. It's nice. I like it. I have one quip about it. Not that you're going to be inserting and removing the micro SD card, but you got to have like baby fingers to get the micro, because it's a recess and it's only as wide as the micro SD card. But that would be $76.95. I think that's a fantastic deal.
Well, and I'll just throw this in because I have to. Okay, my true belief is you could have this device hosting your Plex 1080p streams, maybe up to 6 people at the same time. You could have this hosting multiple terabytes of data to anybody, literally over the public facing internet, people in Ireland, people in Australia, people in Serbia, people in Mexico, people in Canada, you know, doing normal kind of file sharing. And you still have enough leftover processing power. You could be emulating Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition with an Xbox Bluetooth controller on your big screen TV hardwired into your network and experience no real slowdown or letdown. This device, I do believe, is one of the most under respected mini computers that have came out in the last year or two. I think the price is just a skosh more than I would expect to pay, but I will say this, with the right case, which o-droid sells for next to nothing, it actually can turn into almost a decent media type center computer.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, and now the processor, I'm just looking at this, you know, I'm sure we reviewed this many years ago, or not many years ago, but many shows ago. AM Logic S922X, and I would absolutely have to look that up to know what the heck it's doing. You know, in comparison to anything else, like, because everything we've been talking about this year or last year and a half has been like the 3399.
Yeah, I will say this is a plus 1 year old processor, but here's the gimmick. It's really highly optimized for what it can do. It's not going to do like crazy 4K video. It's not going to do crazy encryption type speeds. It will do really unbelievably I'll say this, like 720p, you cannot throw frames at it fast enough. It would handle it beautifully. 1080p, you could probably still do like literally 60 frames a second, and this thing would probably still run just fine. This to me is, I'll say this, for $70 with 4 gigs of RAM, you just throw a couple bucks on, you have the case, you have maybe what would normally cost you $100 to $110 like home theater type computer type box. That's how strongly I feel about this device, and I do think it's underappreciated. I will say that again.
Yeah, I definitely think it's, you know, underappreciated. So, all right, it's a hexa-core processor, so you get 4 Cortex A73s at 1.8 gigahertz. You get 2 A53s at 1.9 gigahertz, and it's a Mali G52 GPU. with 6x. So I guess it's a 6 core at 846 megahertz. So I'm not sure how that stacks up against other devices, the GPU on this, but definitely appreciate it. I have smoke tested it. I did record some video on it, and it's been a while.
Yeah, and I will say the o-droid XU4 is one of those, if you really can't afford a lot, the versatility you get with an o-droid XU4 versus a Raspberry Pi 4 is measurable, is what I'll say. If you just want simplicity, you just want to burn an SD card and you just want to shove it in a little mini computer and just have it work, quote unquote, you'll be much more happy with a Raspberry Pi 4 versus an o-droid XU4. But if you really want to be able to maximize your efficiency and performance, the o-droid XU4 is great. But I had to rewind a second. No matter what computer you're looking at in single board computers, I don't care if it's an Orange Pi, I don't care if it's a Nano Pi, I don't care if it's an o-droid, I don't care if it's a Pine, I don't care if it's a Rock, I don't care if it's a Rock Pi, I don't care if it's a Raspberry Pi. If you expect to be able to just make an SD card, put it in the device, hit the button, and have everything work perfectly, it's not going to happen. I've been doing this now for 6 years with these mini computers. I almost always have to burn cards multiple times. I almost always have to tweak something in order to get things to launch correctly, in order to run correctly, in order to boot correctly. So expect there to be at least a little bit of pain and suffering in your path and your travels, but I promise you, when you get on the other side of the pain and suffering, it will be well worth it and it will run really good.
So I'm trying to look at the benchmarks and compare them. Like they show the N2 against the Pi 3, and it's not like double or quadruple. So Unix Bench Drystone 2, they're showing the Raspberry Pi 3 just under 1,000, and I don't know what the units are. And the N2 is 7,000. And so double precision Whetstone, the Raspberry Pi is a little over 1,000, and the N2 is 7,000. Sysbench events per 10 seconds. The Raspberry Pi is probably on the scale, because it's incremented in thousands. Raspberry Pi is probably 100, and the N2 is over 8,000. MBW, the Raspberry Pi is probably 500, and the N2 is 5,000. So we're talking some serious hurt on the Pi 3. And if I'm recalling correctly, these types of benchmarks, Pi 3 versus Pi 4, the Pi 4 might be double or in some cases quadruple the amount of the Pi 3. What numbers have you seen, Dor?
Well, I can tell you my personal experience, and that to me is most important, is it is easily twice as powerful as the Pi 3. Here's the gimmick. That doesn't mean the Pi 3 is not usable. What I love about mini computers is now, if you do upgrade to the Pi 4, you have a perfectly capable secondary computer in order to do offline tasks. So if you want a Pi 4, get a Pi 4, connect a USB drive to it, have it as your local storage. You can even install Plex on a Pi 4 and have it as your local media server for at least 1 or 2 people. And then use your Pi 3 for something else, whether it be a Octoprint server for your 3D printer, whether it be a motion sensor for your garage door opener, whether it be your airplane sensor using, what's it called?
Oh, PiAware.
PiAware, you can know all the planes that are going overhead, whether it be your moisture sensor around your hot water heater or whatever, you have a perfectly capable backup computer doing other things. When it comes to a NAS, though, I will encourage this is only one thing. Quickly decide how much of a administrator you want to be. And if you're perfectly okay being the administrator, then work on remote, off-site, immediate duplication to another device. I will say I will happily donate my bandwidth to an end user, because I'm a firm believer in keeping things on isolated networks. I have no problem with having an isolated network on my network where there's only one device on it, and that is somebody else's uh, replicated offsite storage.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find metrics I can compare one to the other.
Gotcha. And I will say this: we do have at least one other email from Carl, is what I'm going to say. And what I'm going to do, Rich, is I'm going to talk really slowly. I'm going to post it over here. I'm going to talk even slower. And I'm going to come and I'm going to post it over here. And then I'm going to go a little bit slower. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit this. And then I am going to read this if you do not want to.
Any way you want it.
Okay, I can give it a shot. Door. I've been using various versions of the Raspberry Pi for the years, different kinds of projects, but I've never used any other brand of single board computer. I'm planning on giving my Raspberry Pi 3 B Plus to my brother as a server side for a multi-room audio solution based around Logitech Media Server with Squeeze Lite clients running on the server, a couple of Pi Zero Ws. It's B Plus have, so I'd like to replace with something. I've been browsing a Maridroid site that you mentioned, but as I've said, the only Raspberry Pis, and I'm not up to other manufacturers' offerings. I don't care so much about video performance. Side tangent. That is very important. Thank you for adding that in your email. Back to the email. I most likely be using a headless server. I like to use it to build ARM Arch 64 and ARM HF software from source, as I found using QEMU emulation on x86 64 to be incredibly slow. I already have 10-year-old Atom-based server that I use for file storage, so I guess I'm not concerned about being able to connect to drives to the SBC, but would consider replacing the Atom as long as I could still support 2 drives in RAID 1. I'll also prefer the SBC to be passively cooled. I'll go with an RPi 4, but my relative uniform impression of them has been that they run hot, and they had USB-C power on port, and it wasn't to spec or something. And up till now, I've had used the Raspberry Pi 3 B Plus, so I didn't feel the need to buy one. Now I'm in the market for a replacement, and I'm wondering, what would you recommend? Thanks, Carl. Deep breath.
Wow. So, good you read that because you didn't paste, or the buffer didn't have everything that you pasted up there. One of the things I didn't say before, dealing with heat, noise, and electric consumption. One of the reasons that drove me to this is, I was running on a former Vista machine that I inherited. And I just didn't like the amount of noise and the amount of heat and the amount of electricity it was consuming. And that's why I went to going with a single board computer, because I found that something like the o-droid XU4, at a fraction of all of those metrics, heat, noise, and power, did as good as or better job than a several-year-old Vista machine. So you may be able to retire your Atom also, which would be a good thing. So heat, for me, is a big deal because I have all of my single board computers in my office, which has an issue with staying cool because of all the devices I have in it. Being in Florida, we're running under air conditioning almost all the time. The passive, so I would tell you, you probably could get away with passive on the Pi 4 if you don't overclock it. And I would drop a heatsink on the CPU, the memory, the USB. Let's see, is there a fourth one? Actually, I had the image up just a few moments ago because it showed what chips got hot. Yeah, there's definitely four chips you want to heat sink. So I guess the Ethernet, the USB, the memory, and the CPU. I'm just looking at a thermal image of that. So if you don't overclock the Pi 4, you could get away with heat sinks. And again, if this is a place that's air conditioned and you're not cooking up over 75, 80 degrees. Now, something that I haven't had a heat issue period with would be the o-droid N2, and I've been showing a lot of love for that. Right, we got to call the AmeriDroid guys and see if we get like a why can't I think of the term? A code that we get a referral if they're into that.
I don't know if they're making enough money. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean that's another factor, sure.
I'll just say, you want to like hit like when it comes like the tent pole analogy, you want to hit the highest tent pole first. In my opinion, he's saying he wants to use a headless server to build ARM Arch 64 and ARM HF software from source. That will be the insanely most intensive process he wants to run. And yes, there's two basic. Actually, there's more. I'm not going to lie. If you go look at the Debian page, there's actually like 6 different types of ARM processors you can focus toward. The two big ones are the Arch AARCH64 and the ARMHF. Typically, when I'm running my ARM computers down here, my single board computers, it is ARMHF, whatever the hell that means. I don't know. And to build software custom towards it is insanely processor intensive, pause, storage intensive, pause, RAM intensive. Okay. You're going to need a lot of everything if you're going to build the source, even if you're okay with clicking build and walking away for 48 hours. It's still going to be resource intensive. So, with that stated, I would really highly encourage. Let me. I mean, I literally got to stop and think here for a couple seconds. Honestly, I want to say, if you really want to build software, the Jetson Nano might be the best one to shoot for right now. I don't know anybody doing benchmarks on building software from source, but I'm willing to bet the Jetson boards will perform the best. They cost the most. After that, I'm trying to think the next board I would think would probably be the best, and it would probably be an RK3399. I don't know which one. I would definitely encourage active cooling, like a big heat sink on it and a big fan on it, period. That is really intensive stuff. You want to then have, good storage connected to it with good fast storage. Everything else would be honestly easy to handle. And yes, the Raspberry Pi USB-C power is non-spec. I don't understand what they're doing. It's literally like they're smoking crack cocaine between development processes.
That's so they can have a B plus.
I guess. I don't know. But normal USB power is typically quote unquote good enough is what I'll say. The other thing was he was asking about the media server side on it and stuff like that is almost secondary to what you want to do. You could host almost any solution, whether it be Streama, Open Media Vault, just a simple trying to remember the acronym for the media streaming service, or a Plex. Almost anything will work after you defeat that hurdle, that high tent pole of you want to build software from source.
So I'm just looking at the Jetson Nano on Amazon. There are two places on Amazon. I see it for $99, and I guess it comes only with 4 gigs of RAM. Let's see. I'm not sure if it comes with the wall wart. Yeah, I'm guessing it doesn't come with the wall wart. So that's like $9. 5-volt 4-amp power supply. And I'm trying to look at what the cores are on it, because they talk about the jetpack, but they don't talk.
Yeah.
I don't see ARM blah.
Well, I'll say this. It's difficult to compare the Jetson Nano versus any other ARM processor because it's very GPU intensive kind of thing.
Okay, it's an ARM Cortex A57 and it's an octa-core. All, as far as I'm reading, of the Cortex A57. But thanks for bringing the Jetson up because I'm looking at that's I guess the only thing I don't own is a Jetson. Uh, but that could help me out with a couple of projects.
Well, I mean, to like paraphrase your other podcast and much less successful podcast, the Linux Link Tech Show. Yes, that's a jab. Joel has no idea how to compile software. To compile software is by far the most resource intensive thing you can do imaginable. It does not compare to AI, machine intelligence, TPU kind of thing. It doesn't compare to video encoding. It doesn't compare to encryption of, mass stuff. None of that even comes remotely close to just compiling software. It will drag any processor down. It will eat up all resources and it will make everything else slow on a computer. So if your main goal is to really compile your own software and to do it in more of a painless fashion, Carl, if you want to do it in a very painless fashion, I really do encourage you to take the money invested in the Jetson Nano, put it on your network on the side, and use it for nothing but compiling software. Yes, for the first couple of months, you're going to think, did I really spend $99 on that? But then if you try to compile software for ARM on anything else, you will see how slow it is, how ungodly slow it is in comparison. And then use any other ARM board for anything else, whether it's a Rock 64, whether it's a Raspberry Pi, whether it's an o-droid N2 or o-droid X34 for fun type projects. And I'll say this, I have no problem saying this out loud, unlike every other podcast that's ever existed, Carl, if you buy the Jetson Nano and it does not meet your expectations, let me know. I'll send you the money. You send me the board and I'll find a use case for it. I don't want anybody here taking any advice from me and not being completely satisfied with anything I say.
Okie doke. On the Ameridroid side, it has the specs. So, all right, we know 4 gigs of memory. We know. All right, so here it says quad core ARM A57. So on Amazon it said octa-core, which I don't buy. Now it talks about 12 camera lanes, 3x4 or 4x2, MIPI. Oh, okay. I guess you can plug cameras directly into it because that's what the MIPI is. Gig Ethernet. All right, so it has HDMI, and it says or DP 1.2, and so I'm not sure. Okay, so it says DSI 2 simultaneous. I'm not sure what that means. So I don't know that you can do HDMI and DisplayPort. It says HDMI or DPI, but it has 128 NVIDIA CUDA cores. So if you're doing AI and processing, this is definitely the beastie you want.
I have no idea and I never say this kind of term, I have no idea on God's green earth what the hell you just said. I just know it's a powerful computer.
Yeah, because I would want it, and one of the wants I've had is to plumb all of my security feeds, my 8 cameras, now 9, into something and do facial recognition. So I can know, hey, that's a person, and hey, that's a family member, those kinds of things. I just picked up, what's the super cheap little cameras that you get for like 25 bucks? The Wise Cam, that's it. And I threw it in my garage because I didn't have a camera in my garage. And for, it's kind of like my $20 action cam here, my not GoPro substitute. 20 bucks, it's a reasonable purchase. Did it do all of the crazy things I thought it would do? No. Um, I I wanted it to alert me on, it recognizes a person in the garage, and it's not so good at that either. But it's decent enough for what it is.
Gotcha. I did just forward you another email, and I will say I'm not sure what's going on with the email, but Rich and Brian both said that they did not get all the emails from everyone. I don't know if you want to read this one or not, Rich.
Sure, I'm just bringing it up. Ooh, we got attachments and everything. Alrighty, so this is from, Christian Setla. And I know his icon as Chris. Hey guys, it's that time of year when things get a bit hectic and you guys like me come out from under the rocks to bug you. Okay. Doris suffered my slings and arrows before Richard my dad's name was Richard. We called him Dick. I'll refrain from doing that today. Okay. I had the weirdest thing happen to me a short while ago. I'm using OMV on the o-droid HC2, and I thought to myself, that it could also run Pi-hole, as neither is very taxing on the hardware. Dummy me, I figured I'd just SSH into OMV and install, do some CLI stuff, and install Pi-hole via script. I forgot that would make it weird, seeing that I already had OMV on the desktop on the same address. Pi-hole installed just fine, and predictably, I could not bring up the OMV desktop anymore. Oops. Feeling stupid, I just yanked the micro SD card and went back to before the attempt. When I tried to access OMV desktop, I still couldn't connect. Eventually I figured out that OMV somehow told the router that it wanted a different address. And made the router give it one. There was nothing I could do to change it back. I don't know what happened, but once I knew where it was, I was able to load it in the browser and carry on. No big deal. You learn to live with things a little weird at times in Linux, but 2 days later, once I go back, I could not connect to OMV yet. The FTP server was up and running, and I was able to use it. Checking the router again, the router had gone back to having DHCP assigned to the address. At this point, I was able to make the router assign OMV a fixed address that won't change again, but I've never heard or seen of this sort of thing before. Any ideas? And I'll get back to that. Lastly, I've already thanked Dor personally and publicly and other Podnutz show, but Dor, you really came through for me in my time of need. My wife suffered a stroke, back in January, and Dor laid out a way for me not only to calm down, but bring things back in focus. Thanks, Dor. I only hope I might someday get a chance to sit across the table from you and buy you a well-deserved low-carb beverage. And cool. That is very cool. So he's got two attachments here. Oh, there's screenshots from his router. Yeah, depending on your router, it can be weird. Sometimes you might want to do a reboot before you do anything on the router to clear its memory if it's been up for a very long period of time. And just double check all of the settings and click save. And because, I've got the Asus router, which I think has been a very solid player and very upgradable. I got the Asus RT-AC68U, and I have videos on how to hack the T-Mobile AC1900 into one of those. So I think you get them for like $39 on Amazon, and I got videos on how to do it. But anyhow, yeah, I would definitely give the router a reboot. Make sure you save the settings. And what you're talking about here, dumping Pi-hole onto your OMV. Always have a backup. That's the great thing about microSDs is microSDs are cheap, so you could do a DDIFOF and do a backup of, the micro SD from one to another. That would be a big deal in saving you some hardship. I also think with OMV, I'm pretty sure Pi-hole is a plugin, and you could get it, and it would run on a different port because then you're not hogging up port 80 with two conflicting things. I'm pretty sure that if you look at OMV and the plugins, or how you download extra plugins, that Pi-hole is an option, and you could get both of them running together. Did I get everything, Dor?
I do think so. I will say I do think also with Pi-hole is unbelievably flexible, is what I'll say. Ridiculously flexible. With that stated, I've had multiple instances of Pi-hole seemingly for no reason just stop working, and I gotta nuke and pave and reload. I am going to say I did something wrong. I'm not going to blame it on Pi-hole. I'm not going to blame it on DuPuie. I'm not going to blame it on everybody else. It was a me thing, is what I'll say. I will say, yeah, I mean, to paraphrase Indigo Montoya, only secondarily as important is everyone's necessity in order to, once everything is working, pull the micro SD card out, put it into another computer, and make a copy of the damn thing. Because we all have a nasty habit of, once things start working, just let it run, and it always comes back to bite us, kind of thing.
And as much as that is a staple in what I preach, sometimes I don't practice it enough. As much as I do practice it, I have a 256 gig thumb drive, which is called my conf drive, which all of my configurations, all of my images, everything is back. So I can unplug it, plug it into something, whatever. I have it, it's available. And I found with my home automation assistant, I blew it.
Gotcha. And I have no problem sounding stupid because, I'm Irish, I'm me. When it comes to each person's individual router setup, anything could happen. I constantly wipe my router. Literally, every couple weeks, I literally blank my router back to default settings and set everything from scratch, because I don't know how. It seems like some stuff just randomly happens and things just start to not perform as well. And just a quick side note, I've thanked a lot of people throughout the years. I've thanked a lot of people throughout the shows for their support. But I can't state enough how much I thank Captain Zero Christian for his support. And without sounding stupid, because I'm going to sound stupid saying this, I honestly have no idea how I helped him through his ordeal, but I know his ordeal was with the kind of ordeal that is incredibly taxing for anybody who cares about anybody else. So I'm just insanely happy that I can be supportive to anybody else. That alone, honestly, without dumb, makes me almost want to cry, just because I'm able to help somebody else. But here's the gimmick. Thanks to Christian Captain Zero, I was able to pre-order or purchase or back order or whatever a Pinebook Pro. So technically speaking, it's on order. I have no idea when the hell I'm going to get it, but I can tell you this: when I get it, I'm going to be as giddy as a little girl.
I kind of broke my moratorium on spending, and I'm thinking I really ought to pick up a Pinebook Pro, if not just to kick the tires on. And oh gosh, I know I promised the Pinebook to somebody. I haven't sent it out yet, and I apologize because I offered to give away the Pinebook. Somebody claimed that. I got to get it in the mail, and I apologize for not getting it in the mail sooner.
Yeah, that was terrain.
Yeah, I got to get it out there. One more thing about the not Diet Pie, Pi-hole. I'm on a 1 terabyte cap with my cable company, and if you look at I'm a big news junkie, so I'll go to a lot of news sites, and the news sites are 90% ad and 10% content. So one of the big things about Pi-hole, if you're on a bandwidth cap, it really cuts down on the amount of traffic. It it really when I saw the stats on what my network was doing before Pi-hole and after, big deal, very big deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ads are, if not a great percentage, I've seen some stats showing 60 to 80% of bandwidth being to third-party ad network sites. Yeah, and I'll say, quick tangent, Jonas in the chat. First off, Jonas, Swift, Red, Chatter, Dual Screens. Thank you guys for coming out to the live chat. Um, Jonas made a good point, which I completely forgot. Technically speaking, on x86 hardware, aka your normal desktop and laptop, you can do what's called cross compile your software. I will tell Carl, I would first make it a priority to look at what you can cross compile on even a 7 to 8 year old laptop or desktop before you start to custom compile on a single board ARM processor, because your speed, performance, and power utilization would probably be better even if it's a 7+ year old laptop.
Oh, excellent point. Yeah, I wasn't reading the chat in the YouTube feed.
And I'll say this, Rain is the guy you promised the Pine book to, and quite literally, if you can't send him one, I'll buy him one and send him one, because he's
No,
Rain.
I'm gonna send it out. I just haven't done it yet.
And I understand shipping is not an easy thing. It's a painful thing because you got to interact with people, and people are jerks and incompetent. I also want to just take a quick 30 seconds, and I want to say thank you to our newest Patreon supporters, Jonas, John, Hollinger, and Rain. I want to thank you guys for your support. I did actually finally 12 18 2019, which doesn't add up to any special number. I finally turned on Patreon support. You're only going to pay once a month. It's literally less than $20 from everybody, but thank you very much for your support. Because of you people, I'm able to once in a while buy a bottle of Johnny Walker Black.
Well deserved.
Well, you have to find your own ways to enjoy yourself that are as little damaging to you and your local parties as possible. So here's the dumb question, Rich. The next show, we're going to have to talk about like what happened this year. And then maybe that show, we can also talk about our predictions for next year. So the stupid question I'll have for you is, what this year in mini computers have you been thankful for? Because I think I have something I've been thankful for.
Something that I said wasn't going to happen. That was the Pi 4, and it has dual displays, which I haven't really kicked the tires on too much, but I'm thankful for that. And we're talking about that, like we had a little chat session going, Brian and Dor and I, and I'm not sure what else I want unless it's more RAM and more cores in the future. I'm just trying to think, what do I want that I don't have?
Well, without sounding dumb, what I'm thankful for, to be honest, and honestly, it might have been more than a year ago now. Listen, I've had literally easily 3,000 concussions in my life. I used to say 300, but then I sat down and did the math. I've had at least 1,800 to 3,000 concussions in my life. So my sense of time might be a touch bit off. I'm thankful for, honestly, Rich, you sending me the upboard. Your sending me the upboard gave me an honest to goodness experience of what a mini computer could be, which now my expectations, every time I unwrap and unpack a mini computer, I now have what I consider to be realistic expectations on what I should see.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks.
And I will say, without sounding stupid, I hate saying that because every time I sound stupid to myself, 2019 was a fantastic year for mini computers, thanks to countless people that we don't know their names, creating smartphones, creating appliances, creating these IoT devices, Elon Musk creating these CubeSats, Elon Musk doing these other little things. We've literally had, I want to say it was 10,000 CubeSats launched in the last 6 months. Because of all these other people innovating, because all these other people pushing technology, we in a mini computer verse have seen such glorious improvements. We're now able to get what I would have considered 2 years ago a $400 to $500 worth of computing power in under what now is like $20 to $30 worth of hardware. I firmly believe 2020 is going to be one of the years of what I consider ubiquitous computing. I think it's going to be a defining year as far as I am personally concerned on how computing is done. And I'm really excited to see, all the things that happen. CES this year, I think, is going to be one of the most putrid, disgusting, lame exposés of cultural appropriation, of like just corporatism ran awry. With that stated, I do believe OnePlus is going to launch something that could be revolutionary.
Oh, cool. What do you think they got going on?
I don't think I know. That's the whole thing. They just teased and said they're going to release something at CES that they consider revolutionary. And all these speculative journalist scumbags are trying to guess what it's going to be. And the only thing I'm sure of is we don't know. Because 6 years ago,
February?
No. It's like the second week in January. OnePlus has been the company. 6 years ago blew everybody away. 5 years ago blew everybody away. 4 years ago, everyone thought they understood and they kind of delivered. But since then, they've been consistently just knocking the doors off of everybody's expectations, delivering exquisitely tuned and performance optimized hardware at a really rational price, even though they've been slowly pushing the price up. I do think 2020 is going to be a breakout year in the normal person's vision for a company like OnePlus. And I think by the beginning of 2021, we're going to have a whole new set of name brands that we trust in our house when it comes to interfacing with technology.
So, yeah, I'm looking at events. So CES is January 7th to the 10th, and then another event that I'd like to go to would be SHOT Show, which is the 21st to the 24th.
And where is that?
In Vegas.
Vegas.
So I could spend the month of January in Vegas.
Well, if I had money, Rich, I'd be there for both events with you.
And isn't there a car thing? I think there's a car thing in between CES and SHOT Show.
I honestly think that's in the Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. I think the premier car event is still not in Vegas. I think they're talking about moving it, but it hasn't done yet.
So, Dor, earlier today we were thinking we didn't have enough to do a show on.
Well, I know, but then we both can't shut up. So, Rich, if people want to catch up with you and communicate with you, what's the simplest way?
Pretty much flyingrich.com. You can click on the contact us, and you'll be able to email me, and that's where all my social media is.
Very cool, very cool. And I'll say if anybody wants to catch up with me, just check the show notes. That's why we have show notes. Any podcast that spends 3 to 5 minutes at the end of the show talking about pluggables are podcasts that, given a chance, I would literally punch in the groin with a super punch from Hellboy or something like that, because you don't need to do it. That's why we have show notes. These are the same kind of podcasters that I firmly believe don't listen to their own show, and their podcast starts with, "Hello, welcome to the Mini PC Show. Hey, this is Steve McLaughlin. Welcome to the Mini PC Show." They're so uncouth and to be respectable kind of thing. And if you like to respect podcast, I heavily encourage you, whatever you do, send us an email, minipc@podnutz.com. Send us a voicemail, 706@podnutz.com. If you want to email me directly, mail@podnutz.com or doortodoorgeek@gmail.com. Or once again, click the friggin' notes. That's why they're there. Rich, I love you. Oh, always good to talk to you.
Right back at you, buddy. And hey, Merry Christmas to you. I guess we're not going to be podcasting for a couple of weeks.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Stadia, Happy whatever the Jerry Seinfeld holiday is.
Festivus.
Festivus, yes. Next week, I want to say it's Christmas Eve. The week after that, I believe it's too close to my wedding anniversary. So yes, it might be 3 weeks till we sit down and communicate. But again, thanks everyone for downloading. Thanks everyone for their support. Thank everyone for their email. Thank everyone for their Patrons. Thank everyone for coming out live. Seriously, Jonas, I missed chatting with you. And we will talk to everyone again, hopefully, really soon after the holiday. And until then, do not forget Mini PC, Big Talk, Little Machines, because that's what we do.
Wow.
Okay.
Hey, I'm still impressed.
Still streaming, and I got to go to the bathroom again. I don't know what happened to my other thing. It says it's still recording. How is it still recording? Where is it at? I don't see the window. Oh, there it is. It was hiding. I thought I stopped recording with the other computer. Now it's panicking. Okay, good. Okay, I don't feel as bad. Okay, and not surprisingly, Rich, I got to go to the bathroom. Tell me right now who is in. Yeah, I'll say I've done my due diligence to try to plaster this upon multiple social media things before we go live. That's why it takes me like 10 plus minutes to shift the start time.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Mary Gingerbread House. Well, that's confusing, Red. Okay, Rich. I'll be right back.
Alrighty, buddy. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but this is Pebbles. And I gotta remember I gotta mute this. So Pebbles is just hanging out. Yeah, boy, my video is awful. I'm on my Chromebook right now with the video camera, so I just bumped it up, but it still looks awful. But yeah, Pebbles is my buddy.
Hey, Rich.
Hey.
We are still streaming live.
Yep. Yeah, I'm watching.
So I will caveat that with this. I was over a friend's house a month ago. Okay. Link in the YouTube chat. Link in the Mumble.
Ooh,
Link
what is
in
that?
the Google Hang out. Okay. I remember watching a I don't know. I don't want to call it a documentary. I remember watching something on like A&E or TLC, or I don't know what the hell it was, years ago, where the guy was talking about when you taste a liquor, you're supposed to chew it to like experience all the different types of flavors that are entailed in the drink. Okay. Sorry, I had to type that real quick. A buddy had this a month ago. He took like shots of it and he poured it out with me and a couple guys, and he said, "Don't shoot it, sip it."
Oh
And
yeah, I'm a big fan of sipping. In fact, I was sipping Cuervo 1900 the other week, and I was more impressed with it. I didn't think it was that good.
well, I'll just tell you this: this stuff is $75, and I took a sip. And tequila typically, to me, is like harsh, like really harsh, burn, heat, terrorizing your mouth kind of thing. I took a sip of this. There was literally no burn whatsoever.
Really?
I felt just a touch of warmth like down my throat, and all I could taste was like caramel, wood, and like spices. It literally blew me away. I've never experienced a tequila that wasn't, now in hindsight, compared to this, complete garbage. And it was a month ago, and I've tried now to go to at least a dozen liquor stores, including like really big liquor stores that are literally the size of grocery stores in other places. And I've asked them about this, and everyone has said the same thing. I've never heard of it. We don't carry it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. I'm sure there's bigger tequila aficionados than I. Um, I like the Patron over the Cabo Wabo, and I never thought, other than in my heavy drinking days, that I liked Cuervo, and I was sipping some Cuervo, a couple of weeks ago, and I have more respect for it than I did prior to that because I don't think it's awful. But one of the interesting things, I did a live taste test video with Patron versus
Which
Costco
Patron? You
tequila.
can't just say Patron. There's like literally
Yeah.
18 different types of Patron.
Yeah, yeah. So I had the white Patron, and I could barely. So the local radio host, not like he's my friend. I'm kind of like the stalker, on their social media or whatever. But he mentioned that he drinks the Costco tequila, and I'm like, I know this guy. Not I don't know him. Let me just say this: I've met him once or twice, but I know he has good taste. Let's say that. And I was kind of surprised. I'm like, well, if he says it's good, so here's the other thing. And I'm pretty sure they do this with the liquor also. Like if you buy a huge wheel of cheese and it's $50,
Right.
and you take 2 bites out of it, don't like it, you can bring it back and get your money back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're the same thing about the liquors. So if you're going to take a chance on the Kirkland tequila, and if you don't like it, I'm pretty sure they'll take it back.
Right.
Don't count on that. But so I was willing to take a chance because I think the Patron, I don't know if it's a liter and a quarter bottle, is like $75, and this Costco tequila is like $25. So yeah, I would. No, I'll keep an eye out for this liquor. I don't know where the hell would I find it?
You ain't going to find it anywhere. Supposedly, my friend's daughter was in Mexico, Tijuana,
Mhm.
and the guy said, "This is nobody in America sells this. Period, and you're gonna love it." And he gave her a little bit because let me tell you something. Down there, they give taste testings out for tequila like we go into BJ's or Costco and they give you little pieces of cheesecake. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They give it away like crazy. And she said she had literally 20 to 40 different tastings of all kinds of stuff.
Where'd she go? I gotta find out.
Tijuana. And
yeah, I'm not going to TJ. That's
neither
not
am I.
happening.
And like she said, this was by far the best. And my buddy brought it to a place where me and another coworker were, and he poured out us each a shot. And my other friend was like, "I hate tequila. I'm not going to like this." And I said, I'm really not a fan of like tequila straight. I gotta have it mixed with something. And then he was like, "Look, shut up and sip it. Just sip it. Just have a sip and shut your mouth." And I was able to literally take a sip of it, move it around my mouth, taste all the different flavors, all the different compounds, swallow it, and not go,
Right.
with like rancid toxicity kind of thing. And it was $74. So here's the gimmick. If you click the link, if you click the link, okay, and then you take mañana, and then you search the store for mañana, and then you see they have a lot of different versions. The one I linked to was clearly the most expensive one because, of course, it was. But then they have a version for $15.99 where you get 3 50
the samplers
milliliter samples. Now, here's the thing: the shipping is another $15.
I would do it.
So I just bought it like a couple days ago. It hasn't even shipped yet. So I'm tempted to see how these, taste is what I'll say.
Hey, is Jonas still on the chat? Because
I believe.
Not only do I have respect for Jonas's savvy insight into things, but I'm betting he is a cigar and liquor aficionado also.
I don't know if he's both cigar and liquor, but I know this. When he's passionate about something, he seems to know more than a lot of other people, is what I'll say. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like this, Rich. I once in a while just drink beer, and then I stop and realize how much money I'm spending in beer versus like the reward I'm getting out of it, and I'm thinking, why? It's like, why buy cheap liquor when you can buy good liquor, not have to mix it with anything, and just sip it instead of drinking 10 plus beers or whatever to get the equal effect out of what seems like $6 worth of liquor.
Yeah, a 12-pack will expire on me. Like if I buy a 12-pack of beer, it'll expire on me before I drink it. And every time I have a beer, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. How come I don't drink more often?
Well, the thing about beer is the reward for each beer is low. The carbs and everything with a beer is high, but the taste is fantastic. So yeah. And I tried to explain to a good friend, I consider a good friend, here's where you divide, here's where you separate the alcoholics from everybody else. If you're buying liquor that you have to mix with something else, you're buying the wrong liquor. Buy something that costs more money and just, cut it with a little bit of water, a little bit of ice, let it sit, let it simmer, and then just sip on it. And if it's still too harsh, again, you're buying the wrong liquor. Stop buying stuff like Johnny Walker Red. Stop buying like regular Jameson. Stop buying, the low grade stuff.
So, how did you have the tequila? Room temperature?
Oh, completely room temperature. And then here's the gimmick. He also then had another bottle from the same place, and the place, he said, the guy told his daughter, all I do is I travel around the world and I find eclectic blends of things that I like, and then I buy them in lots, and then I put them in a barrel, and then I put them here for sale. So he also had a agave infused rum, which I never heard of.
Oh, wow.
And he had like, a good 5 shots left worth in the bottle, and he brought it over just for us. Expletive, 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 expletive. I would do expletive, expletive. But, he was such a nice guy. He brought this over. And the rum infused agave infused rum, I've never even imagined. He poured it out. It was nearly as good as the $80 bottle of tequila. And I've never even heard of such a thing.
Yeah, I never heard of that either.
Yeah, and I had to explain to who I thought was a drunk 2 weeks ago, the difference between bourbon, whiskey, and scotch is location. Everything else is basically the same. Sure, some of the basic ingredients might be different, but the procedure they're doing is exactly the same. Bourbon has to be from Kentucky or Tennessee. Whiskey is every place else, and scotch is from Scotland, and it's essentially the exact same thing.
Yep.
Because he told me that he loved Jim Beam bourbon, but he didn't like scotch. And then I said to him, then I don't think you like bourbon either, because they're technically the same thing. I said the only difference is they're made in separate areas. You can make bourbon 15 feet outside of the border in Tennessee, but you then have to call it whiskey. And this guy was older than me, and I'm thinking, how do you not know this?
Well, it's not something that's taught in school,
Well, it isn't. And they had Jim Beam Devil's Cut, I want to say is what it was called. And it was literally like licking the inside of a garbage can. It was so nasty.
Oh.
It was bad. And the guy spent $30 a bottle. I'm thinking to myself, you could have bought a bottle of Johnny Walker Black.
Yeah.
For maybe a little bit less, and to be honest, been a better quality.
So, YouTube has new rules as far as firearms go. So, being that this is a live show, if you live stream on YouTube, you can no longer hold up a firearm and touch it during a live stream.
At all. That's ridiculous.
And the logic behind that is because they are worried about people live streaming mass shootings. So,
but it hasn't happened on YouTube. It's happened on Facebook, not YouTube.
Right. So, the one podcast that I'm a guest on, they have a segment where they call it Gorn, gun porn, and they'll show firearms. And my argument is, I understand what they're saying and doing, what they're getting at, what they're trying to prevent. But if I'm in my apartment and showing you something and not getting up and running around, and there's no masses of people in it, nobody has anything to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the difference between showing a knife and showing a knife stabbing somebody. They're two completely different things.
So,
well, and I'll say this, Rich. I don't want to get political because it's way too easy in 2019. I did hear a study that said, and it was a very high percentage. Now I can't remember. It was something like 78% of Americans polled, and then when I looked deeper into it, it ended up being only like 2,000 people polled. Said that they thought that their rights were being infringed, which of course sounded clickbaity and dramatic. But then when you went into the actual questionnaire, it was one of like 6 questions, and if you answered yes to any of the 6 questions, then they counted you towards the number. Okay, and one of them was free speech, one of them was expression. One of them was, I can't remember what it was. There was like 2 or 3 more that I thought were interesting. And then there was guns, Second Amendment. And it's like, I don't know anybody who doesn't feel like the United States government, politically correctness, the current like moral exposition is like pointing towards as being one of these things needs to be restricted because I'm offended, because I feel like, what you're doing is immoral, unethical, whatever.
So the problem here is that what kind of speech needs to be regulated? The speech that needs to be regulated, or I'm sorry, if we have hate speech and the other speech, and for no other definition, let's call it love speech. If it's stuff you like and want to hear, there's no reason to protect it. It's when anyone starts saying you cannot say something that we have a problem. And unfortunately, what is it? Is it the Voltaire quote that I may not agree with you, but I'll defend to my death your right to say it? And that's what we should be going for. It can't be that I have... I posted a video today about the impeachment, and some lefty, lost his mind in a comment. And, I have a right to express my feelings. I'll tell you what, I don't believe in being vulgar. I don't believe in being defamatory or threatening so everybody says when you talk free speech, the first thing that comes up is, fire in a movie theater. And of course, it's the call to action. If I said...
I know, but that's a false narrative.
Yeah, we all need to jack up this group of people. That is a call to action, and that is, not protected. That's not protected speech, or your speech is protected, but the call to action is not. You encouraging a group of people to inflict harm on another group of people is not.
Well, do you know the actual story behind the screaming fire in a theater?
Yeah, I think it was a dissenting opinion in a Supreme Court case.
Well, it has nothing to do with screaming fire in a theater.
Right.
The Supreme Court justice used it as an example.
Right.
The actual court case was about a fellow spreading propaganda about how he thought the war was invalid and how you should not put your life in risk. And the Supreme Court said what he was doing was basically harming the United States government. And he equated it to somebody
screaming fire in a
theater. That's one of those weird things that a lot of people that quote it, I think, have no idea where it actually emanated from.
Right. And I kind of think it's like the idiot's one-liner.
Well, it's easy to comprehend. It's like saying, Luke, I am your father. Because it's not what he said. It's not what Vader said. Vader said, I am your father.
Right.
But to paraphrase it and quote it to somebody, it makes no sense. So you have to say, to make it more comprehensible, more digestible, more understandable, Luke, I'm your father. So they say it's like saying fire in a theater.
Right.
I'll say this. People everywhere in the United States are idiots. It's been proven time and time again. We're all stupid. And I'm going to paraphrase a rap artist from 1988. I believe it's 88, might be 90, which might, be shocking to you, Rich, but it's freedom of speech. Just watch what you say. Because there is no freedom of speech. It's only freedom of speech if it's what they clarify as politically correct. And if they don't clarify it as politically correct, well, then you shouldn't say that. Scorn you. I'll wag my finger at you so much it's going to cause a nuclear reaction and kill you.
Oh, okay. Hey, this brings up something else. So you said the word shipping.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking for the Canon G7X as a Christmas gift for my daughter.
That's a good
And
Christmas gift.
so the G7X Mark II, and there's a Mark III, and I thought I would get her the Mark III. It was a little more money. But the Mark III had issues. It didn't have the dual pixel, and I don't know what it is, the dual pixel focusing algorithm or hardware to do it. So it, while it would identify a face, it would take some time to focus on it and maybe not. So I didn't think it was worth, and that's what led me to the $20 not GoPro.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Because I'm like, well, why would I spend another $150 on a camera that wasn't a good 4K camera? So for $20, I got not a good 4K camera also. And I found this place, Tri-State Camera, of course, up in New York area. And the guy, I ordered it Monday, I think Monday before noon. I got a call yesterday about noon. The guy's like, hey, you want to pay like $29 extra in shipping so I can guarantee it's there for Christmas? And I'm like, I know that New York scam
Yep.
because I came from New York. I said, no. And I'm like, and if you don't think it'll get here by ground before Christmas, I'll just cancel the order and order it on Amazon. And somehow, in a few minutes, apparently it got shipped.
Yeah,
Uh,
my wife and I are both almost in agreement that we're really tempted to just say, as a family, we're not going to celebrate any holiday until like January 31st,
sure.
just because of the cost savings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm in. I'm with you. So, I Best Buy, pretty much the best brand store had the camera for $600. I got it for $450 from this place, and Best Buy wouldn't price match it because they're like not an authorized reseller.
That's still a really good price.
Yep, yep. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about getting it for $150 off. Do you want to know anything about my action camera?
I don't know
care.
what to ask about it.
I got it
Except
for
for how excited are you about it?
for $20 and being that I'm a YouTuber and having a camera for B-roll, I might get another one or two of them.
Okay, well, you do
$20.
know in YouTube Studio you can set up multiple cameras, right?
No, I've never actually done that.
Yeah, you can set up, I want to say, up to 16 different camera angles. And then in YouTube Studio, you can dynamically change which camera that you're presenting, is the word, I think.
Oh yeah, I don't. As far as live with these things, I don't know. Yeah, they're definitely not a good vlogging camera because the audio's crap. That's why I said a B-roll camera. I just did a time lapse on it. Oh, I don't have a battery in it right now. Oh, and I don't have the SD card in it either. But it actually has a couple of cool functions, and dash cam is one of them. It'll loop record,
That's
and
good.
it'll power on, go into dash cam, loop record, and so that is kind of cool. So for $20, I think there's a couple of good uses for it, a couple of good use cases.
Well, in America, we haven't yet really got on board with the idea of a dash cam. I don't understand why, considering Russia's been on it for like 10 years. We need more dash cams here in the US just as a liability protection type thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. So Jonas, I did talk about it a little bit on mini PC on Tilts, but yeah, it actually for $20, this is the DB Power 4K, and the 4K isn't worth 4K. Between lens quality and sensor quality and color saturation, you might as well just shoot 1K, 1080p with it. It does come with an underwater housing, comes with a whole bunch of the GoPro type mount type stuff. And so the battery, I just did a time lapse, and I was probably recording for an hour and a half with time lapse, and I set the back screen to go dark, so it wasn't sucking up much power. It comes with two batteries. and they I wouldn't expect to record for an hour with one, but yeah, if you turn off the back display, you're going to get a little bit more duration on it. So yeah, it does have Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi worked with my Note 4, but not my Note 8. So the app, that is. And let's see. I can drop links in this chat. Here, let me grab you the link.
Yeah, I will say I like the idea of the dash cam type functionality, and I like the fact that you can turn the actual screen off, because there's no doubt displaying on the screen probably uses the most power. And I really like Johnny Walker Black. Double black doesn't seem like it's worth the money. I'm just saying. And to the live people, I'll definitely thank Joe Heck for his effort, for his thoughtfulness, for his work, for everything, for the mugs. Thanks to him, I have an actual genuine mug that literally says Mini PC and Linux for the rest of us.
Oh, cool. All right, so I got a Mini PC mug, and my wife grabbed a box and was, like, oh, this is the box going to Goodwill, and she throws my Mini PC mug. Like, whoa, 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 whoa! What the heck are you doing there? That's a podcast I'm on. It's my favorite podcast I'm on.
Yeah, and I'll just put it like this: Joe Heck has silently impacted the world of software as much as he's had extreme health things happen to him. And I can tell you right now, he's had crazy extreme health things happen to him. There's little doubt in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to benefit from a lot of things that Joe Heck silently coded for in the real world, but cannot take credit for because of the contracts that he signed.
Yeah, Joe's a real good guy, and I don't think I've heard from him in a year.
He's had more than a couple health issues. He's had more than a couple family issues. He's had more than a couple financial issues. He's had more than a couple property issues. He's been preoccupied, is the best way I'll put it.
Mm-hmm.
There's been few people who I wanted to actually start a podcast, do a podcast, more than Joe Heck, and he literally did one episode, and that was all he did.
Yeah, it is tough. My personal form of a podcast is when I do the Friday live drive vlog on YouTube, and really it's just to keep me from falling asleep or eating too much when I drive.
Well, I'll say the first reason to podcast is to like scratch your own itch. And yes, after that, everything else is just a bonus.
Yep.
Just a touch more.
I'm jealous. I brought I had the Kirkland tequila here. I'd have a sip of it right now, but I brought it back to the house. So all of my liquor's in one place. And Dor, I'll tell you, the bird. Did you already? You know what, Jonas? I'll try and upload some. I did a time lapse this evening. Where's the micro SD card? I did a time lapse this evening, and I will upload it to my channel, and so you can take a look at it. Aha, here it is. I got it over here. Oh, and Jonas, I don't know if you missed. I was really buttering you up a few minutes ago. You might not have been there. I was wondering if you were like a cigar or a tequila guy, and what your recommendations were.
And see, here's the thing. I almost don't want to know, Rich. You're asking that question. I want it to be more of a mystery, because Jonas is the kind of guy I want to just come across one night, shake his hand, and sit down and then, and only then, learn about all of his, things.
Well, don't we have a corporate, mini PC field trip, and we got to go to like Hawaii or something for that?
I would love that to be the case. Okay. I really need to start editing this show, or else why the hell am I doing the show?
Okay, so let's sign off. Jonas, I'll upload this momentarily as soon as I sign off. And
well, I'm still doing my stuff, so you're fine.
Oh yeah, actually I can upload it while we're yakking. I did, see, that's the problem. So yeah, it'll be on flyingrich.com or my YouTube channel.
Without sounding dumb, I miss Brian. I hope everything's going good with him.
Is it just he's busy with family stuff, or he's got issues?
The impression I get, he's just busy with stuff. And to be honest, Rich, between me and you, the last thing I want to do is like guilt him.
Oh yeah.
Into anything, because he's busy. You know what I mean? He's a hardworking man, and without sounding dumb, I really do respect like that. I don't even know who the rock artist was now. I want to say it was Leonard Skinner. I don't know, who did a song just called "Working Man." Brian is to me the like stereotypical working man kind of thing, where he's like blind to a lot of things going on around him because he's too busy just working. And he's the guy when listen, Rich, not trying to sound too insulting. I would love to be able to send you hardware. You know what I mean? I really would. But I know if I would send Brian hardware, he would be giddy as a little girl, and he would spend, like hours going over it in detail and explaining it to everybody, including himself, and just have fun.
Rush Great? What, Netflix? Definitely check the Netflix documentary on Rush Great.
The hell is Rush Great? I never heard of that. Hopefully it's not like Atlas Shrugged. How I saw 3 movies of that, then I thought, what the hell the drug am I smoking? This is horrible.
If you're a fanboy for that stuff, it's good.
What do you mean that stuff? It was crap. It was horrible. It was, oh man, I hate to say it like this. It was white privileged esoteric BS where they believe one man has the ideal advantage and everyone else is just useless, stupid, and just believe me because I know what I'm talking about. Oh my God, Atlas Shrugged was like, somebody needs to be shot in the side of the head. I mean, it's why Hitler was popular. That's what I believe.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree. I mean, I can see how you can look at it like that. Don't get me wrong on that.
It was nothing but white people. It was filled with white people preaching to how white people know the answer to everything. That's all Atlas Shrugged was. It was white people saying, these other white people don't know what they're talking about, but us white people know what we're talking about. We need to listen to these other white people. That's all it was. It completely disregarded 80% of the earth and thought, I know what's better for everyone. What they failed to comprehend was ultimate power, ultimate privilege, ultimately ends in ultimate people completely.
Uh-oh, you didn't hit the mute. You're muted.
Sorry. Ultimate power, unfortunately, ultimately corrupts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Atlas Shrugged completely ignored. was that if you believe you have the answer, it isn't that you do, it isn't that you don't. Time is important. You might have the answer to what's appropriate right now, but because of how everything works, your answer quickly becomes inconsequential. Your answer quickly becomes unimportant. Those unbelievably, I have no problem saying, racist viewpoints in Atlas Shrugged is unbelievably biased. If you take a look at any other segment of the population and you put them in Atlas Shrugged, they end up being poverty-stricken and unbelievably desolate.
Wow.
And then I beg you to watch it again. Literally.
Okay,
all three movies from the beginning. And you think of it as a Mexican, as a Latino, as a African, as a Asian, as a Serbian, as a somebody from Poland, somebody from Israel, somebody from South America, somebody from Russia, and you take a look at their perspective as they're placing, and unless you're a rich, Western, educated, industrial, republic, democratic person, you end up in a very short end of the leash. Like, unbelievably short end of the leash. You end up as like fodder in a cannon. Unimportant. Because all they care about.
Jonas said my video is 360p. I gotta check that out.
I'm totally shocked at that. I thought it would have at least been 720.
Yeah, I'm really bummed.
What the hell happened?
Okay. Yeah, all right, it says quality 720. Let me like up it. I went to 1080p. I'm not sure.
What I asked you, Rich, is when was the last time you watched all three movies of Atlas Shrugged?
Oh, it's been years.
Okay. I'm literally tempted to do like a live streaming where we all sit around and we watch Atlas Shrugged, to where we all literally like hit pause at the same time and discuss things. Because, don't get me wrong, I think issues addressed in the movie are unbelievably important. Like, we need to address them or else civilization will fall.
Well, are we going to violate copyright if we view Atlas Shrugged?
Well, no, because the gimmick is we connect with each other, we all independently stream, like via Plex, while it's still alive. And then we all agree to hit pause at the same time, and then we all discuss. And then we all agree to hit play at the same time, which unfortunately means it would take weeks to go through all three movies.
Yep.
But here's the gimmick. I truly believe the exercise is worth it because I believe as many things as I perceive in it, as many things as I think I see in it, I think everyone else will see something different. Everyone else will perceive something different, which will further educate me on it, kind of thing. Because I do think it is a tremendously good mechanism of understanding and comprehension. Because it tried to tackle something really impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, let's see. My video, I'm just watching it. Around like 252, it just seems like there's nothing in focus.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah,
well,
and
I hate to say this, Rich. Do you dog food anything?
Well,
don't
this
be
is
like
the first
Tilts.
time. No. This is the first time I'm watching it.
Don't be like Tilts. Don't be like Tilts.
I knew there was a focus issue.
Don't be like Tilts.
Okay.
They
I'm putting
dog
this up
food
for
nothing.
Joe.
They put out shit. Sorry, discretion shouldn't have cussed. They put out crap that is disgusting, and they never dog food anything. Literally, the way they gather stats, Rich, is like the drunk trying to justify how little he drinks. I'll be shocked if Tilts gets 200 downloads an episode. I would be shocked. I would be incredibly shocked if they get 200 downloads an episode, because it's crap. It is unbelievable crap that no one ever checks.
You may be very right.
All you got to do is dog food stuff. And I've only talked to, and I've only seriously, Rich, time out. I've only seriously talked to a couple podcasters. And when I say to those podcasters, I've waited 3 days. You know, your RSS feed is invalid. It cannot correctly link to the MP3 file.
Right.
Can I ask you how many people have told you of this issue?
Yes, yeah.
And when I say that to Dan, do you know how many people he tells me have told him about the issue?
Nobody.
None. Nobody.
Haven't listened to Tilts in years. Did I kill it for you?
Well, which means one of two things. The people that subscribe don't care, or the people that subscribe and do care don't understand how to connect with him about issues. I don't know which one is right, but I do know, looking at statistics on download numbers is irrelevant. And I've tried to make this point unbelievably clear to anybody who will listen. Download statistics are irrelevant. Engagement then stats are the only thing that's worth anything. So the number of emails you get in response to something are the only thing that matters. And when I talk to Dan about the number of emails he gets, it's literally, when they literally ask out loud about getting emails, they might get 2 or 3 emails, which tells me they might have at the most 30 to 50 people downloading. And the only reason I say that is because I've been doing this for a decade. Okay? I have a little bit of understanding in the ecosystem where Dan and everybody in Tilts has made it a point to be incredibly incompetent. Incredibly incompetent about actual engagement to people. Dan only worries about hitting record and hitting publish. Joel is only worried about communicating with you people. Pat is only worried about who is online right now. Alan is only worried about who's listening to me when I talk and then I disconnect. And that's the truth. It's the truth. I know because I listen.
Okay, so I got a 4-minute video and like the first 3 minutes are good. So I got 75% decent.
That's better than most. Most people, everything sucks.
Yeah, this was, you know, like I said, this isn't art. This was just a test. And this is walking distance from where I am. I was like, I was going to go somewhere else, and as I'm driving, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a good spot. There's a parking garage behind the camera. If you look at the video, you don't know from the video, but there's literally, just the drive around the office building, and then that view. And I was like, where can I stop? I'm like, I can park in the parking garage. It's after 5. Nobody's going to chase me out.
I'm busy editing because, that's what I do. Well, and I'll say this. Streaming live is a completely different audience than post-produced podcast type
Sure.
material.
All right. What did Swift wow about?
I don't know, but I trust Swift.
Yeah, the color is okay. I'm wondering what I shot. I know I did take a picture with my phone, but I only took like one photo.
Listen, sorry, cutting you off. Between me and you, I'm doing this because I did it on a recent DDG episode. And when I did it afterwards, when I listened, it made me cry. Eric Ardini did promos for the network.
Ooh.
I know. For the mini PC show. I've talked to his wife more than a couple times.
Yeah.
I'll just say it like this. Eric, unbelievably respectful. It's painfully obvious he picked his wife according to his morals and ethics because she is unbelievably cool. So I'm going to, I don't care. At the end of the mini PC show, I'm going to put an ad for the mini PC show because it's Eric.
Wow.
Yeah, without sounding dumb, Rich, I've seen a good amount of things in my life. There's a lot of people who have experienced in my life that I can lose. I don't know how much it will hurt, but losing Eric really hurt. Like, bad. His wife seems unbelievably cool, is what I'll say.
Yeah, that one hurt, you know,
And
the whole...
I know, but permission to speak frank about you, Rich.
Well, okay.
Are you sure?
Sure.
Okay. The patience I've seen you have for everyone around you makes me respect you 10 times more than the average fella because it proves to me that you work for more than something than yourself because you don't have to work for more than yourself and you bust your butt for everyone around you, which is something I don't think a lot of people understand is actually rare. So on behalf of those other people, I say thank you.
Well, thank you. And I don't know if I can say this on the air, but I don't know how much appreciated a lot of what I do is.
I'll just say this. You won't know. You can't know. You're not supposed to know. When you die, 2 to 3 months later, they'll stop and think, you know, that guy busted his butt for me, for you, for everybody. And unfortunately, that's the only time that you'll be truly appreciated. That's the only time I think I'll be truly appreciated, like 3 months after I'm dead. And I'll say this. Sorry. Swift is in the chat. Swift is the guy I cannot believe we have not hung out ever. He's literally less than 20 miles from my house.
No.
I've drove farther drunk to get beer than Swift is for me right now. And I feel like unbelievably incompetent for not ever hanging out with Swift, giving him a hug, eating a cheesesteak, watching a Baltimore Ravens game or whatever with him before.
Oh, that stinks that you're that close.
Well, it does, and he's honestly unbelievably nice. Gregory, the guy who sent us the email for the entire show, lives, I
Hmm.
want to say, 18 miles, maybe 20
Oh,
miles north from me.
dude, you gotta have a meetup.
I do, but I need the wife and kids to be unconscious first. And by unconscious, I don't mean dead, just asleep.
Oh my gosh. So, the interesting thing is when I'm home, I don't know how anybody gets anything done when I'm not there, and I'm not there 5 days a week. Where, like, if I'm in my office, never have I called, and hey, Mitch, never have I called my wife like, hey, can you get me a beer? Can you get me a sandwich? Can you get me something to eat out of my office? There's never been a a request that I have made of my wife when I'm in my when she's in her office. I'll say this for the rest of you guys. When she's in her office, I can't believe she can move her mouse without calling me for help. It's unbelievable how dependent upon immediate technical service she is. I'm a little shocked. And I guess the other thing is, as far as honeydews go, there is an endless list of things for me to do. What I want to do, forget about it. It's not going to happen. Um, and actually, I had two goals this year. I want to do two things, nothing costly or anything like that. I wanted to go on an airboat ride and a swamp buggy ride. And Jonas, good insight. I think part of it is that's how she feels loved, that I'm there doing things for her. So, hey Jonas, you might know about this. Or do you know anything about dragon fruit? Because I've been growing dragon fruit. I've got some adult plants, and I've been propagating cuttings. Am I like an hour north, 2 hours north of Miami? Oof. Oh man, BW. Sorry about that. Yeah, if we're alone, not broadcasting, I'd share a whole bunch more with you guys. Yeah. There's a guy in California. He does a YouTube channel, grafting dragon fruit. And when I started conversing with him, I forget how many viewers he had. All of a sudden, he's this guy's crazy exploded. So it's been real interesting. A lot of good content. Realistically, a neighbor, somebody I knew from New York. Dude. Hey, or I forget which island are you on? Can you go skiing on your island? Snow skiing, that is. VOG, is that like volatile organic something? 50 yards in the winter. Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, I didn't know. I heard about skiing in Hawaii, but I just, Oh, Vog. Got it. Got it. So, Dora, I don't know what point you walked away on what I was talking about.
Talking about what?
Was I saying I don't know how my wife gets any work done when I'm not around because
Well, yeah.
she's always like, I don't think she can move a mouse without my help. She's always calling like, how about this? And the dumb thing is, I set up Google Home and I have home automation going on. So if she wants to print, and she finally got with the program on the laser printer, I got an HP LaserJet 5 from like 1950.
Right.
And she finally got with the program that these multifunction do everything, and $50 an ink thimble was not the right way to go. It only took her 10 years. So I have the LaserJet on the automation, so you can. There's a physical remote for it. There's a couple of things, and I gave her a remote. You used to be able to. It's not hooked up anymore. Ask Google to turn the laser. You could say LaserJet on, and
Right.
Google would turn the LaserJet on.
Yeah, those things were rock solid.
Or you could go to a web page and click the LaserJet, the home automation web page. Print me a sandwich, yeah. So, but she'd be like, she would call out to me. I'm like, what? I can't quite hear her, because of the distance between our offices. So I'd like get up from behind the desk. I'd walk, towards the kitchen, and I'd hear it. Can you turn the printer on? I'm like, I've bookmarked the home automation assistant in your browser. You can just click the button. Or then they'll ask me, oh, can you download this movie? And I'm like, you can go to the Radar server and download the movie yourself.
Right. Two real quickies, Rich.
Yeah.
Next Thanksgiving weekend or week.
Mm-hmm.
The entire week. I'm going to be in Disney.
In Disney?
In Disney.
Well, that's like over there.
Yes, I know. You tell me one night that you want to be yours, I'm there.
Okie doke.
Okay. Anybody else listening to this, if you're in the area and you say, I'm there too. Without sounding dumb, it ain't just Rich. Anybody else involved, all you gotta do is say something. I'm there for the entire week. It's costing us like $6,000. So it doesn't matter. I can take a night away and hang with anybody, including Rich. Dramatic pause. Swift. The 28th or 29th is actually insanely wide open for me. I'm, ridiculously booked the 24th, 25th, 26th. I'm insanely booked the 30th, the 31st, the 1st, the 2nd. But literally the 28th and 29th are completely wide open, and I'm a lush. Literally, I'm going to probably stay drinking tonight till like 2 a.m., wake up at 6 in the morning, go to intensive 4 hours worth of training tomorrow, and destroy everybody in the training, because that's how I roll. Because listen, the competition I'm up against are incompetent.
Oh jeez.
It's
oh,
easy
Lord.
to like supremely destroy. So Swift, seriously, 21st, 20th, 22nd, 28th, 29th. You just got to tell me a day, at least 2 or 3 days ahead of time, and I will be at any address you tell me to be in. I don't care if it's in the most crime-ridden part of Baltimore. As long as my Google Maps can get me there, I'll be there.
You're throwing down.
No, Mitch, that's the thing. I'm actually going into work early tomorrow morning. I'm going into training where I'm going to destroy everybody in the training. And the trainer's going to turn to me,
Wait.
some 24-year-old kid with like really curly hair. He's going to say, "Yeah, you're right, Steve." I'm like, going to look at him like, no crap, because I've been through this back in like 83.
So, what was the Cliff Clavin logic on the brain cells?
Okay, buffalo theory. The buffalo theory goes, the entire buffalo herd, the herd of buffalo, is only as healthy as the most unhealthy buffalo, which means when the herd is running from a predator, the herd can only run as fast as the slowest predator. So, when the predator catches up and destroys the trailing part of the herd, it makes the entire herd then run faster because it got rid of the weakest link. Thus, the brain works in the same mentality. So when the alcohol I consume destroys the slowest brain cells, my entire brain ecosystem speeds up to compensate. And I believe that's at least partly true. While I drink my Johnny Walker Black out of my mini PC cup.
Oh, and I meant to say one other thing. The bird appreciates the podcasting because he enjoys me speaking.
It's painfully obvious because he's unbelievably quiet and calm.
Oh yeah, he's ridiculous happy.
Without that dumb, Rich, I wish I lived closer to you just to hang with you, but I wish I lived closer to you just so your bird could see, hey, look, I'm a real person.
Hey, do you know who's close and I haven't hung out with? Tracy.
Dude, well, you can't. You can't. Because 80% of the time, he's like 1,000 miles away from you.
Yeah, we're talking
because he's Tracy friggin' Holtz, man. And look, I'll put it like this. John Newstetter, John Miller, Red Dwarf, you, Tracy Holtz, Russ Winter, Cody Cooper, Martin Obando, Jonathan Nadow, Bruce are some of the most best human beings I ever met. Period.
Well, thank you for including me in that group.
Dude, you are by far in that group. If you ever get the opportunity to sit down and just enjoy a meal, a drink with Tracy Holtz, and if you don't take advantage of it, oh my God, you have so mistaken, you have so forsaken, you have so like missed out on. He is such a joy to just be around. Unbelievably, one of the most sweetest guys. If I could vote for anybody to be president of the United States, Tracy Holtz would be in like the top 2 or 3 of the people. Because he would do no wrong.
Yeah, definitely good guy. Tracy's 51 minutes away. Not that I know his address, I just punched in Lakeland. Right, so now if I was super smart based on all of the pictures he's posted with the lake on the back deck, oh wow, there's a stink load of lakes in his neighborhood.
Yes, there is. And the pictures he posts, I am so jealous.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I can't be jealous. You know why?
Tell me why.
Because I know his wife busts her butt and works her butt off. And here's the thing. I'm an incompetent government employee. If my wife didn't work as hard as she did, Rich, we would not be able to live remotely close as good as we do. She bust her butt. And Tracy's wife bust her butt. She works her butt off.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the lakes in Tracy's neighborhood compared to the sinkholes in my neighborhood. He definitely has much more lake area.
He does. I get the impression when he takes pictures off of his backyard, he's closer to golf course type material.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted a bigger house so I could have people come visit me, but then I'm never there, so that's also an issue.
Well, I'll put it like this, Rich. I've asked Tracy, tell me what I need to do in order to like stop by his neighborhood, and he's too busy. He's always out and about. Um, I can't, and he literally drives by Baltimore and he like shoots me little messages. Hey, I'm by Baltimore, but I know he can't stop and sit down and do anything. He's the kind of guy I would happily give up. I'm sorry. I'd happily give up a testicle in order to sit down and have a beer with because he's Tracy Holtz.
Yeah, Tracy's a good guy, and yeah, you're right. I'd love to hang out, have a beer.
Yeah, and like Mitch in the chat, I tell you right now, I've had more than like 2 or 3 occasions to sit down with Mitch Heyman. They've been some of the most enjoyable times I've had uh, because of him, is what I'll say. Um, I would love to be able to sit down and enjoy with Mitch again another round of just engagement to where we
All
just
right,
sit down and BS.
where is Mitch from? Because he mentioned OLF.
Well, without sounding dumb, I don't know where he's from. I think he's from Baltimore, but I think he literally lives in more of a Pennsylvania type atmosphere.
Gotcha. Yeah, he said Baltimore.
And I say that while I transcode audio because, I'm a nerd and that's what I do. I'm busy transcoding audio.
It's funny. For some reason, I marked a house in Florida, in my neighborhood, because I was like house shopping for 7 years. And it was tough finding a house that I liked and could afford. And
I
I ended up,
understand because if given the opportunity, I would honestly live in Anne Arundel County. But looking at Anne Arundel County, I would have to either A, eat roadkill, or B, like prostitute myself out in order to be able to afford any property in Anne Arundel County. And I really enjoy A, enjoying myself, B, being able to provide for my kids, C, and be able to actually make my wife happy with things. So I live in Harford County. And the dirty secret is the part of Harford County I live in isn't like cheap whatsoever. It's actually quite good. Um, where I live in Harford County, I really hate using terms like this, Rich, but it's like everyone around me should feel blessed is the word I'll use, but I really don't like using that word. Okay. I think I got the MP3 done. I think I have it configured. I'm not drunk. Oh, wait. Yes, I am. And that's the thing. Whenever I drink liquor, I always got to stop and think. Because with beer, it's always so slow. I always know when it's happening. And I gotta say, whenever Mitch Heyman is in the chat, I love it. Mitch is one of the most fantastic guys I've ever met in my life. Let's see what he says, because I'm. Yes, I know I picked up at your house, but I didn't want to say Hanover, PA, Mitch, because I wasn't sure if it was kosher. And yes, I met your wife, Margaret. And Mitch, I got to say this. I don't know who deserves more credit, because your wife is quite a patient fella. She is golden. It was over your house, yes, but it was over now, I want to say 3 years ago. Yes, I do remember the way home on OLF. I stopped at the rest stop. Yes, I thought Mitch thought somebody stole our vehicle. It was fantastic. It was so funny. I remember meeting you at OLF 5 or 6 years ago. Honestly, Rich, I'm not drunk. Of course I am. I want to say it was 6 years ago. I don't think it was 5 years ago. I think it was 6 years ago. Where you were there at OLF. You felt quite out of place, is what I'll say.
I'm trying to remember which OLF. Was that the OLF I went with Sherwin?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, I had a good time that one.
Dude, Sherwin is one of the most honest and pure fellows I think I've met in Linux. Such a good guy. Such a good guy. I haven't seen him now for like 4 or 5 years, and I know here's the gimmick. His wife has been quite successful.
Oh, yeah? Oh, good.
She has. And she has, I'll put it this way. He's a talented fella. He's a smart fella. His wife is far more successful.
Oh, wow.
She's a recording artist who's been at least propositioned by major companies.
Oh, wow.
And I really wish her nothing but success. And I say that, and I was in school with Tony Braxton. I'm sure you've heard of the Braxtons.
Sure.
Oh, God, such scummy people, such scummy folks. But they've been really successful in Hollywood. I'm just happy I have nothing to do with them.
All right, buddy, it's past my bedtime. I gotta drop off here.
All right. I'm going to finish the post-production on this show and hopefully produce it tonight. Rich, I really can't thank you enough for your time, for your effort, for your insightfulness. Unlike everyone at Tilts, I will tell you thank you for your effort. I love you, man. Don't hesitate to ever let me know if I can help you with anything. And seriously, next Thanksgiving week, I'll be in Orlando.
Alrighty, so if it's Thanksgiving week, which Thanksgiving's always like Thursday, Friday, we're probably gonna have to do like Tuesday.
I don't care.
Or Monday.
I don't care. Just start playing it now. I'll be there, and I'll be there.
Alrighty, buddy.
All right, Rich.
Alrighty, man. Good night.
Take it easy. While I eat pork sausages. Because that's what I do. Okay, and now we need to really finish this editing process, or else what the hell am I doing here? Okay, let's see. I already edited it. I think I already edited it. Let's try this. Badang, there it is. Let's see. It should be episode at least 101, I believe. I would love somebody for try to hack me, because only I would love to know what it would take. We go read only, read write, control W, control. Now is a I have no idea why this is taking so long. Mitch, you have no idea how happy I am you hung out. Okay, mini PC show 101. Mitch, if I could hang with you for 20, 30 minutes and just talk tech, that would be an entire podcast episode, because you have some really uncanny insight, which I don't think you understand, that few people have. We're going to call this emails, NAS, and stuff, because I'm so frigging inventive. Because that's what I do. I get paid by the hour. Hello, my name is Door Geek. Artist Podnutz.com, because that's what I said. I really wish I could eat 3,000 calories a day. 101 genre. The genre is podcast. Hello, it's podcast. 0 composer URL. Gonna hit save. File. Wait a minute. Why is it not showing me? Wow, that was ridiculous. FileZilla. Yep. I'm gonna go there. Public HTML. Mini. Nope, not many. Episodes. Mini. Yes, sir. There you go. Yep. I'm not drinking. Oh, wait. Yes, I am. Done. Control Q. Stop. Control 1. Video. Oh, God, that white balance is awful. Bang, it's fixed. Now, what we got to do is actually get it fixed versus the rest of the world, because that's not right. We should never in our life offer such content in such a format, because it's irrehensible, besides being uselessly out of aspect ratio versus everything else. So let's grab it, come here, and then let's come up here. And we need to fix this, or else the next time we do a podcast, it's going to be painful. Okay. Top, going to be like 20. Left, 0. Right, 0. 0. Okay, so bang, that's fixed. That looks like that's fixed. That looks like that's fixed. And oh my goodness, I can't state it enough. Manana extra añejo tequila. So good. Go back to here. Done. Okay, now let's see how much needs to be done. Okay. Take a look. FileZilla. Make sure that is done. Public episodes. Mini. One looks done uploaded. Okay, so quit. Okay. See if we can get this thing published. That'd be really nice if we could. Post. Categories. Mini PC. Filter. Badang dang. Badang dang. Clone. 100. Looking good. Edit. One. What should the episode description be? We said email, NAS, and stuff. That's pretty lame. But I did say it's accurate. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Edit. 101. Okay. Notes. So the question is, okay, so let's go to studio.youtube.com, which I hate saying is unbelievably appropriately easy to get to where it will let me hit edit. Title and description, come here, After show, we will put Discord link. Yep. This is going to be blank. Episode 101 should be correct. Let me take a look. 101, 101, 101. FileZilla. Podnutz. $101. It's looking good. Okay, so let me go back to here. Hit publish and say thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Jonas, Red, ND, Dual Screen, Richard Hughes, everybody, Mitch Heyman. I love you, brother. Thank you for the support. I'll talk to everyone later. I can go to bed. See ya.